Welcome back, everybody. I wanted to jump on here and do a quick video about Chiron moving into Taurus. This is happening tomorrow as we speak, or late today. I'm recording this on Friday. And uh, in order to talk about this, I want to introduce a concept, and it's called introception. And what that is it's our ability to sense and understand the messages of our physical body. In an IFS process where you go and you work with an IFS practitioner to work with a part, they'll often ask you, where do you feel this part of yourself? And is it in your body or is it around you somewhere? And then you can kind of have this relationship, because it's hard to be in your mind and feel your body at the same time. It's like that movement of your consciousness within yourself. um, I spent a lot of my life living with CPTSD, and I can actually feel my consciousness when I'm in a hypervigilant state. I can feel it go way up in behind me. And that's that hypervigilance, and it focuses around my amygdala. And and I think that being able to bring your consciousness and occupy your whole body is, is one of the fastest ways that we can really stay present and in touch with ourselves while we are interacting with our inner world. I wanted to read a quote by William James, and maybe I'll just paraphrase it. He's talking about uh, trying to analyze the introspective state, and he's likening it to when you're trying to grasp a spinning top to seize the motion, to see the motion, or you're trying to turn the light up so quickly that you can see the darkness. It just doesn't make sense, right? And when you're able to stay present within yourself, then you'll be able to cultivate. This is a Taurus thing. We're going to cultivate this inner world. There are a lot of religious organizations and uh, training that they ask you to cultivate this inner world by imagining things, right? This is that space between the objective and the subjective world. An objective world is what we see, that we can physically, tangibly touch and hold. And the subjective is all, with our own opinion, but there's a little space between it, and that's that world that we're here to cultivate. And I think that's what a lot of this is going to be about. And, as we are able to occupy our body, to feel our toes, to actually cultivate that world within and the relationships within, there are a few things that we need to kind of um, change how we've been relating to it. So there are, certain things that people need for a healthy relationship, and play is one of them. And so if you're able to play and provide this lightheartedness, then I feel like parts of you will come out that have been hiding, that, don't want to be seen, but they want to be seen. It's one of those things that's, it's the same going, it's coming and going at the same time. I want to be seen, I want to be recognized, but it is hidden from our consciousness. And so, I mean, this is where I say that the human psyche is such an amazing thing that it can hide something in plain sight. And so I think that this is going to be like this test of being able to notice when these sensations come up and be able to stay present. This is just kind of a test run for Chiron in Taurus because Taurus is going to ingress into Taurus and give us a taste of it, and then turn retrograde and back into the last couple of degrees of Aries. And so I feel like there's just this little bit of taste of it that we need to take back with us to finish up the final degrees of Taurus or Chiron and Aries. And so what I'm kind of looking at this as is, I said this in my last video, we've spent a while healing our identity, going, Chiron moving through Aries. And now it's a test of being able to understand do we feel like inside do we really feel like inside that this identity has value and is worth something? Those are both Taurus words. And so I think that we're going to get a little taste of it. And then we're going to move back into Aries and we're going to kind of finish up those last degrees and solidify a lot of this new identity. Not that it's a complete thing. This is something that I don't think is ever complete. But as we move through this, we're going to learn through these somatic experiences where we're still running these protection strategies to where parts of us take over and uh, try to protect us in ways that maybe is not getting us what we want anymore. And so Taurus and Venus, that inner Taurus is about that inner Venus and that inner relationship to ourselves. And in order for that, we need to really listen to what the needs are. What are the needs of these parts? What are they afraid of? And how is that not getting met? And what have we been doing to contribute to this? I think that protection strategies are an interesting thing because we don't quite know that it's happening. It's kind of this unconscious thing as they jump in and take over. And that is kind of where we dissociate from our bodies and we don't notice. But if we can learn to stay present and bring that consciousness down into our bodies, then we can feel the sensations of this as we move forward. I think it's going to be an interesting thing as we move forward because we're moving into this Barbault's basket. I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but it's where we've got Pluto and Neptune and Uranus, and then Jupiter will move into 4 degrees. And this is going to happen at the end of next month in July. And this is something that's been anticipated for quite a while. And I think a lot of people are going to start talking about it as this really uh, prosperous thing or this really golden opportunity. And the way that I've started to think about it is it's an opportunity, but we have to actually do something with it. Each one of these planets at 4 degrees is forming a sextile, and sextiles are easy energy, flowing energy. They have a lot in common. And then you've got Jupiter, which will be making a trine to Neptune, and Pluto is making a trine to Uranus. We've talked about that one. The thing about trines and sextiles is they're opportunities And the shadow side of a sextile is not seizing the opportunity, not taking action. And we also have both of these trines are first quarter trines. A crisis in action is what uh, they're deemed in evolutionary astrology. And so we are taking action to establish security in those. And all of these sextiles are early sextiles, they're waxing sextiles. So they're in the crescent phase, which is also a new energy. And the crescent phase is a struggle. It's a yin energy that's in an internal struggle to find and establish security and value and purpose. I've talked about the crescent phase as in my wife's tomato plants in the greenhouse, and she puts a fan on them to make them struggle to grow so that they gain strength and they root up rather than growing too tall and falling over to be too skinny. They thicken up and their stems get nice and sturdy before they grow taller and try to reach the light. And that's what I think a lot of this is about. I think this is about an opportunity to move through this in a different way. And especially if some of this is actually connecting with personal planets in your chart, that's really gonna activate some energy and be a great opportunity to cultivate some new relationships within. Um, let's see. I wanted to talk about some of the ways that I've been cultivating this inner world and this inner relationship. It's about this imagination, right? And a lot of the times in our culture, we just dismiss this imaginative thing. There's been a lot of talk about it over the last decade or so. It started clear back with The Secret, and if anybody's familiar with that, there was a book, there was a movie. They said, oh, you can get rich, you just have to imagine that you're already rich. And I think that I had a teacher that taught me, yeah, you can imagine whatever, but if you don't believe it underneath, if that Jupiter underlying belief doesn't match that, it's not going to work. And if we have values that don't match what we're trying to accomplish, that can also block it as well. And values can be something that is something that is a standard or a positive thing, and they can also be something that we've got low values on something, and so we're it's like blocking us from moving into something that we want consciously, but these unconscious value systems that we haven't really formed a relationship with is stopping us or preventing us from actually actualizing this stuff or making it real. And I think that that's where we come with Jupiter moving into Leo. We're actually going to start to actualize some of this, but we have to confront some of these underlying beliefs. Part of this Barbault's basket is an opposition between Pluto and Jupiter in Leo. And so oppositions create this tension back and forth. And it also is like a full moon, right? It illuminates, it draws people into your life to illuminate things that can allow us to see this stuff play out so that we have an opportunity to confront it. And Pluto is over here in Aquarius, and it's going to expose places where, you know, from an inner perspective, where the inner community has been trying to protect and stuff like that. And so we've got, what we're trying to, our individuality and how we're trying to express that and what the underlying beliefs are of where we want to be seen and recognized. That's Leo, Jupiter in Leo. Jupiter, whatever it touches, is going to make it really big. And then you've got Pluto over here that's been churning up. It's gone past this territory once and it's retrograde now and it's moving back. And so all of the dust, it's churned up, all this dust that's this mud on the bottom of the water. These are the deep scorpionic waters, the chthonic areas of our lives where we have these patterns are being exposed because Pluto goes through and churns all this up and brings it up into the water, and we're there to see it. So we've got this double illumination thing going on, and then you've got Chiron just entering into Taurus and giving us a taste of this, which is going to T square that, and that's going to bring in this opportunity to really occupy ourselves and try to establish our values and work through these things on a new set of values. Chiron just finished Aries, which is where we've created this new identity. Well, now we're gonna and you had Venus move through and go new phase with Jupiter in Cancer. So, what are the value systems that make us feel emotionally safe with this new identity that we've been creating? And so I think that a lot of this is going to be there's a lot of facilitative energy, but we have to actually grasp it. We have to turn towards this stuff. And Pluto is often the part that when when it flashes into our mind, that imagination, that inner psychic or in between world, in between the objective subjective, there's that space where we have that flash or that moment where we see it. And a lot of times our instinct is to turn away because it scares us. It's something that we're afraid of. Well, the sextile, I think, with Neptune is calling for us to dissolve some of that fear and have the courage to trust in the process and trust in how this moves forward. And Uranus is down there and also going to be giving us flashes of insight that change the narrative. Uranus in Gemini, it's going to change the narrative, the way that we think about these things. And I've said this before, if we can turn the situation just enough so that we can see it from a different angle, a new angle, we don't have to get rid of it. It's not something to be solved or resolved. It's something to change how we see it. And then the lens that we see things through changes. And I think it's fascinating. We've got Mercury in Cancer, and it's going to be going retrograde soon. And I think that's interesting because as Jupiter moves into Leo, it's turning retrograde. We've got all those things that kind of stack up at the same time. And we'll talk about that more later on too. But we've got this retrograde pattern going on in water signs where Mercury went retrograde in Pisces and stayed. It went into Pisces, went almost all the way out, stopped, turned retrograde back up, and then stopped and went forward again. So it's bringing up all of these things from under the surface of the waters, the emotional waters, where it's that psychopump energy where it brings these things that we've buried. And this is where I say, the human psyche is a fascinating thing. It can bury things in plain sight and we can't see it, right? And so as we move forward, as it's bringing it up, and if you turn inward, if you listen, and this is a Venus thing. If we take that thing and listen, if Chiron in Taurus, if we turn our attention to that inner world, that space between, and use our imagination to kind of give it this little playful twist to it, to be open to it. If in IFS, when they're working with you with a part and you have a therapist, which I highly recommend, by the way, that you use a trained IFS therapist to help you work through some of the more difficult relationships with parts, because some of these parts are old, or young in this case. They've been there a long time. They're things that we haven't dealt with. And so it's easier with a guide. It's just always easier with a guide. And so as I lost my train of thought there, I'm not sure where I was going with that. But anyway, we will get these insights to these narratives, to these parts, the way that we've seen things, which is going to change how we see the world. And if we can, oh, that's where I was going. When you work with a trained IFS therapist, they are going to ask you, how do you feel towards this part? And if there's anger, or if there's frustration or fear or anything that is other than just this self energy, which is a curiosity, that's the mindset that I think we really want to cultivate in this time, is this curiosity. Like, I think everybody's felt this when you're really curious about something, you just turn your mind to it and you're open, because you're letting go of knowing anything. And this is a Jupiter teaching too. A full mind, something with a full hand, can't grasp something new because it can't let go. You have to let go of something before you can grab something new, or grab onto something new. And this is also, I think, a Pluto lesson too, because what are we attached to and what are we holding on to that we need to let go of, so that we can continue our evolution. Pluto is like that dawn of a mafia, and he makes you the offer you can't refuse, and he'll keep bringing it up, in this green eggs and ham way, where would you like to eat it over here, would you like to eat it over here? And at the end of that green eggs and ham story, he actually realizes that he does like it. And I think that's part of what we're trying to do here, is to form this relationship with parts of us that we've turned away from for so long, that we're learning when you can actually see what they have, what their feelings are, and understand the needs underneath what they're actually saying. Oftentimes what people say is not what they actually want. And if you can learn to listen underneath the words to find the needs and see what's going on underneath, then we can drop that. But in order to do that, you have to have this curiosity. You can't go into this knowing what's already going to happen, because then you'll always be in that same old neural pathway that's well rutted road that we can't, get out of, or is very hard to get out of. And the way to get out of it is to cultivate that curiosity, to spend time in that inner world. One of my favorite ways to do it is to journal about dreams that I have. And I have created this relationship with my inner world, that the messages from the parts come through that dreamscape. And then I'll spend time and I'll think about the dreams. And I spend time looking at what the different symbolism means. A house is often talking about your inner psyche, your inner psychology, and the different rooms in the house can represent the different spaces within your inner psychology. In the basement, that's your subconscious, uh, and let's one that I had the other day, and I thought this was fascinating, was I was in a trailer, and a trailer is a movable one. It's a temporary psyche. It's one that's kind of in between in this threshold state. And I think that's a fascinating symbology. And so, but I like that it's movable because it can change, and the temporariness is like you're in between change. You're no longer where you were. You're not quite where you're going, but you're in this in between state. And there's a lot of value that you can get by analyzing the symbolism that comes up in your dreams, and that puts you into that curiosity mindset, and then just the things that it brings up. But you got to get used to looking at you know what does the symbology mean, because oftentimes it's so simplistic, but yet so it can be so obvious, but it's just that thing that you just don't think about. um, I'm trying to think of another one. I'll probably come up with it before we're done, and I'll circle back to it. Well, anyway, I think that's enough for now. I wanted to give everybody a taste of what this Chiron and Taurus is going to be about, and there's more. Obviously, there's more ways to look at this. I love James Hillman's thoughts about when you're looking at an image, and you decide, I know what this is, I know what this means. It kills it because it's no longer living. It's your curiosity dies. It's the same thing we were just talking about, where, once you decide that you know what something is, it closes your mind to what other possibilities might be. And taking that keeping that open mindset is just so valuable in this transiting planet environment that we're in with Uranus in Gemini. This curiosity is going to be the key to feeling and finding these flashes of insight that open up a new possibility for the way that we relate to this. So I'm going to leave it at that. We'll jump on here next. I think we've got this full moon coming up. Maybe we'll discuss more about this Barbault's basket. I'm gonna keep looking at this and thinking about it and turning it and seeing what I think more. These are just some of my initial thoughts. And I appreciate you guys being here. I really want to express how much that means to me. Make comments if you guys have questions about this stuff, and I'll put a link into the scheduler to if anybody is interested to see where this lands in your chart, how this is going to play out with the planets in your natal chart, because that can change the whole dynamic. Once we understand what your chart is about, where Pluto is at, the, the, the intentions of the soul coming in, the south node and the ruler of where the soul has been, and the north node and the ruler of the north node tells us where the soul intends to evolve towards. And that's just a simple evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green way of looking at a chart. But I like to put this inner psychological lens to it as well, because I think it is the very leading edge of where we have a handle of the lever to move the needle on that evolution. And if you can really understand your own inner psychology, then you have a better opportunity to move the needle, to move towards what you were intended to come here for. And not that it's a ladder to climb, because we have as many lifetimes as it takes. But for people like me, I want to I want to know. I'm so curious about it. I got to know why. I just got to know why. I'm a very plutonic person. I have the South Node in the eighth house in Libra, and I have, Pluto in Virgo. Like, I really want to know the nuts and bolts about the why and get to the bottom of this so that we can figure it out. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I will put the link for the scheduler. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. Do all the things, hype, and until next time, we'll see you next time. Thank you.